Hey guys, okay, so tonight we are going to do lesson 4.3 in your notes, and we're going to talk about parallel lines, which is what we did yesterday, where those are lines that are like this, or like this. They could even be like this, or like this. The parallel lines are the same distance apart the whole way through, excuse me, and they will never intersect. They will never touch. The opposite of a parallel line is a perpendicular line. Perpendicular lines cross and they make four 90-degree angles. So you may see it like this or like this. Those are all perpendicular lines. So this says, use the graph below to find the slope of each line. Slope of line A. Alright, well let's just talk about the lines first. Line A is right here. Okay, line A. This is how I like to do it. Okay, remember we do y equals mx plus b. But right now we're only concerned about the slope. We just need to know about the slope. So on line A, I like to start with where the y intercept, where it intercepts the y-axis. Make a point there, and I find another what we call pretty point. One would be right there, okay? And you do rise over run. So you're going to rise 1, and you're going to run 2. All right? So it's your slope is 1/2. Look at line B. Line B, here's where it crosses the the y-axis, that's the B. And there's another good point right here. So it's going to go up 1, it rises 1, and it runs 2. Okay, so what do you notice about these two slopes? They are equal. They're equal slopes, okay? So now if you look at those two lines, what can you tell about them? They are parallel. Okay, parallel. Both of these are parallel lines. They have the same slope. All right. Let's look at line C. Line C is right here. It crosses the y-axis right here. And another good point would be right here. Alright, so it's going to rise 2. From this point to this point, it goes 1, 2, up, and then 1 to the right. 2 over 1. Which is the same as 2. And then the last one is line D. Line D has the same y-intercept. And here's another good pretty point there. It goes up 2, but to the left 1. Okay, so to the left 1. So that makes it a negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. So let's just look at the lines right quick. Line C, right here, you could tell that's a puff, puff, positive. It's a positive slope. It's going up. From left to right, it's going up. It's positive. And this line D here is going downhill. Nice, negative. A negative slope. So it makes sense that this would be negative and this one would be positive. Okay? Alright, so can you find two lines here that are perpendicular, meaning where they cross makes a 90-degree angle? It looks like here's 4 90-degree angles. Also looks like here's 4 90-degree angles. So we can say that lines A and B are perpendicular to line D. Okay? So A and B are perpendicular to line D. So let's look at A and B slopes. It's 1/2, 1 over 2, 1 over 2. And D's slope was a -2/1. So how are those what do you notice about those numbers? So it goes from 1/2, and then we're going to compare that to -2/1. Okay, so the first thing we know that it does is that you flip your slope. So they flipped it. This was the original slope. It flipped and became 2/1, and then change your sign. So from parallel to perpendicular, and actually you would think this would be the symbol for perpendicular. I don't really want you to use that because I don't want you to get confused that that means plus. This is what we're going to use for perpendicular. From parallel to perpendicular, this is what happens. You flip the slope and change the sign. All right, so what can you conclude about lines that are parallel? They have the same slope. And for example, that would be lines A and B up here. Remember, A and B, parallel, they had the same slope. For lines that are perpendicular, they are, and this is a new word I'm going to teach you, negative reciprocals of one another. Okay? A negative reciprocal means you change the sign. That's the negative part. Reciprocal means it's a flipped. So remember we went from 1/2 to -2/1. You flip it and then make it negative if it was positive and positive if it was negative. Okay? And the ones that are reciprocals are, parallel are A and D or B and D. Okay? All right. Let's go down here. So on my original slope, if my original slope is 2/3, parallel slope, remember it's the same, and this one is negative reciprocal for perpendicular. Okay? So if it's the same for parallel, 2/3 would be a parallel slope to the original, same slope. And the negative reciprocal, we're going to flip it and make it negative. Alright, the next one, -4. Parallel slope to -4 would be -4. It's the same thing. Perpendicular would be, remember you have to kind of put this into a fraction, so this would be -4/1. You flip it, so it's 1/4, and then make it positive now instead of negative. It was negative, we need to make it positive because you have to flip the sign. You flip the numbers and then flip the sign. Okay, so -1/4 would be a parallel slope to this original slope, -1/4. And then we flip the slope, so it'll be 4/1, and it is positive, so we know that also equals 4. Two, we can write this as 2/1, or just 2. So it's the same thing, it's parallel. And then the perpendicular slope of that line would be 1/2, you flip it, and then make it negative. Alright, and for parallel, for zero slope, okay, remember a zero slope is a horizontal line, like Hoy, follow Hoy, right? horizontal line, 0 slope, y equals. So a parallel slope would be the same thing. It would be 0. It's going to look the same. And a perpendicular slope is the opposite. It's going to be now vertical. You're going to follow Vux. And when you flip this, it becomes 1 over 0. Because this is kind of like 0 over 1. So when you flip it, it becomes 1 over 0, and it's undefined. On this one, you don't have to worry about changing the sign, because it won't matter if it's undefined. There's no positive or negative undefined. It's just undefined. Okay? So the perpendicular slope of a 0 is undefined, which makes sense. Okay? All right, let's go to our next page. Determine if the given lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So what we have to look at here, the key is to look at their slope, which is the m, and y equals mx plus b. Okay? We're looking at the slope. That's our key. That's what tells us that they're parallel or perpendicular, or neither. Right? So here, if this is my slope, negative 1/2, my original slope, and then my next one is 2 over 1, well, it looks like they flipped it and they changed the sign. So this is going to be a perpendicular slope. Remember, this is parallel, perpendicular, either. Okay? So this is going to be perpendicular. Let's look at this one. Look at the number in front of the x. That's your m. We have a 3. And then, here we have to fix this guy. He's not in y equals. It has to be in y equals form. See, we had y equals, y equals, y equals. We have to put this in y equals. So to do that, we need to move him to the other side by adding 3x. And that cancels him out. So now it's y equals 3x plus 4. Okay? Alright, so now our new slope, we have a 3 and a 3. So they're the same, so they're going to be parallel. Here we have 3 and a negative 3. So is it parallel? No, they're not the same. Is it perpendicular? Well, the signs flipped, but the numbers didn't flip. Perpendicular would be negative 1 over 3, because you have to have your numbers flip, and that's not what it is. So this one is neither. This one, we need to put into y equals. So we're going to end up with 3y equals 6. We're going to subtract 2x from both sides, smooth that over, and then now we need to divide by negative 3. And you get y equals 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. And this is plus 2/3 x. Okay, so your first slope is 2/3 x. And let's look over here. This one's in y equals, and this is the other slope. That's 3 over 2 negative. So they did flip the numbers, and they flipped the sign. So this one is perpendicular. All right, here we have, this is the same as 1 over 7x, like this. It's the same thing. All right, so 1 over 7 is the first slope, and the second slope is 1 over 7. They are the same, so it is parallel. And on this last one, we have to put this in y equals. We're going to add 3 to both. Oh, nope. What do we do first? Parentheses. So 2x plus 2. We distribute that 2. And then So now we're left with y minus 3 equals 2x plus 2. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. So you're going to get y equals 2x plus 5. Okay. And then over here you have y equals 2x plus 8. So 2 and 2 are your slopes. They're the same, so it's parallel. Okay, so down here, tomorrow when we come to class, we're going to do for warm-up, we're going to do number 1, number 2, number 7, and number 8. So make sure you're ready to do those, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Oh, and I do want to have a special shout out. Today is my baby Paxton. He's my youngest son. It's his 6th birthday. So happy birthday to Paxton. You guys have a great night.